We are officially less than a month away from the NFL draft getting kicked off, but there are still a lot of good players in NFL free agency, and the Giants, they have holes on this roster that can be addressed there by some of the guys that are still looking to find the next team that they're going to play with in the National Football League this upcoming season. So in today's video, we're going to go through the top needs on this team. We'll talk about cornerbacks, safeties. I think there's still a need at linebacker. I think a running back and a receiver could still help this team, and those guys are still available in free agency. The Giants are not going to be able to blow the bag on any of these guys, as according to Over the Cap, they only have about $7.4 million in cap space. But they could easily manipulate that number to get it up to almost about 25, maybe even $30 million in cap space. If you were to restructure Andrew Thomas's contract right now, you would save $10.4 million. If you cut Darren Waller, you save another $6.7 million. So that would get you up to about $18 million. You could restructure Dexter Lawrence again. That saves you almost $5 million. And then you could look to cut a guy like Gary Brightwell or Aaron Robinson or Boogie Basham to push you close to $25 or $30 million. And the Giants, they should probably do that, because if you are actually trying to compete in the NFC East next year, if you want to play meaningful football games in December and January, you need to go out and sign some more good football players. And there's a couple guys at some top positions of need that are still available. So Joe Schoen, I think you should watch this video and you should go make a move or two. Before we dive into some guys that I think the Giants will look at, I want you to name a free agent you want to see playing with Big Blue next year. Give me a name down in the comment section. The first position I want to talk about in today's show is the cornerback position. I think that is the number one need on this current roster right now. Whether you're going to address it in the draft or free agency, you might need to do both, and I think they should look at a guy like Xavien Howard. 30 years old, he's on the back half of his career, no doubt about it. His best days are most likely behind him, but I still think he is a good football player. And I thought he played pretty well for Miami last year. 45 tackles, had an interception, 12 pass breakups. I believe he has some of the best ball skills of any corner in this league. He's always at the top of the league in pass breakups, and he, at one point, led the league in interceptions. If you're not going to go Howard, I think another veteran corner like Stephon Gilmore could make a lot of sense. 33 years old, so like Howard, he's someone that's definitely older. But I think adding an older guy like Gilmore, we'll show you the depth chart in a second, it's a lot of young players. I think Gilmore is still the best corner that is a free agent left that could sign with the team. I think having him alongside Deonte Banks, whether it's him or Xavien Howard, or even this next guy, Patrick Peterson, bringing in a guy that's done it in the National Football League for a long time and knows how to prepare, knows how to take care of their body, and knows how to be a top guy at this position would do a lot for a guy like Deonte Banks. Peterson, definitely not the player he once was. He's already 33 years old, and he's still having nightmares of Isaiah Hodgins cooking him. But I think he would help the development of a young guy like Deonte Banks or Cordell Flott or Trey Hawkins. I like Nick McLeod, but I don't think he's good enough to be a CB2 on a solid defense. Giants need to look at the corner position in the draft as well as maybe free agency if they want to improve there. From corner to safety, I still think there is a need for the Giants to go out and add another safety. You did not pay the big bucks to re-sign Xavier McKinney, and even though he's 24 years old, I wouldn't have paid him that money. I said the Giants should re-sign him. I didn't think he was going to get $16 million. Justin Simmons is the best guy in free agency. 30 years old, over 70 tackles last year, 3 interceptions, 8 pass breakups. I don't see the Giants committing the type of money to Simmons that he wants, but if they want to go get the best player in free agency at the position left, he is that guy. Maybe you want to look to more of a veteran guy and more of a guy that I think is a run stopper at this point in his career in Quandre Diggs. I've always been a fan of his since he played at the University of Texas. I like the physicality that he plays with, always looking to light somebody up as they cross the middle. Kind of gives you some old school vibes from a safety. 5'9", 200 pounds. He can hit stick to somebody. He really, really can. He's also pretty good in coverage. And we know Shane Bowen likes to play with a lot of DBs on the field. A lot of nickel, a lot of dime, a lot of dollar formations and coverages. You need DBs that can tackle. Diggs, he's one of the best at that. The safety that I would like to see them go and sign, though, is Julian Blackmon. Just 25 years old, played really well for the Indianapolis Colts, almost 90 tackles last year, almost 10 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. Unlike some of the guys we've talked about, he's young. And the best days of his NFL career, I still think, are right in front of him. I would really like to see the Giants go out and sign him. Another free agent at the safety position, a little bit older, That definitely is not the player he once was coming out of Alabama. I would be interested in bringing a guy like Eddie Jackson into camp, seeing what he's still got. 1 year, cheap deal, not a lot of money. I think it would make a lot of sense. Eddie Jackson would be somebody that's on my radar because when you look at the Giants safety room right now, outside of Jalen Mills, it's an extremely young unit. Jason Pinnock is a young player. Dane Belton is a young player. Javarius Owens is entering just his second year, and I think that another vet alongside Jalen Mills could help you out. You never can have too many good safeties, especially ones that you don't have to pay a whole lot of money. I'm a big fan of Pinnock. I like the way he comes off the edge. I think he's a great player. I think the Giants really hit a home run signing him after he was cut by the New York Jets a couple of years ago. And I know people are going to miss the X-Man this year, and Dane Belton is no Xavier McKinney, but he is a turnover-creating machine, and I want to see the fourth-round pick out of Iowa get a real chance to get some PT this year. I also am keeping my eyes on Isaiah Simmons. I don't know whether to classify him as a safety or a linebacker or an edge rusher, but he's a Swiss Army knife. And we really haven't heard much about Simmons and a potential return to the Giants. Still a free agent, only 25 years old. I would love to see Simmons, the X factor on defense, the Swiss Army knife, back in Big Blue. A guy I do want to talk about real quick is Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams, like Isaiah Simmons, doesn't really have an exact position. He started out as a safety in this league. Then he switched to linebacker. But he really had his most success getting after the quarterback. And I think his ability to do all of those things actually makes him a good fit in this Bowen defense. We talked about how they want to have a lot of DBs on the field. And if you do that, you got to have them tackle. And Adams does that a lot better than anybody. Thing is, doesn't play a lot of football. Only played 10 games in the last 2 seasons, 24 games in 2020 and 2021. Is he going to be available? Is he going to be accountable? I do love that he had 21 and a half sacks from 2017 to 2020. You can use him as a chess piece to come off the edge. I would like to see him play for this football team. And whether it's Simmons or whether it's Adams, whether it's somebody else, I think another linebacker needs to be added. I love Okereke. I love McFadden. But after that, you're pretty thin with Darian Beavers, who didn't even make the roster last year, and Carter Coughlin, who was a free agent, who was a special team specialist. Do you think they should sign Jamal Adams? Smart, tough, dependable. That's what the Giants have been going with this offseason. That tells me no. But I think there's a low risk, high reward potential deal out there. Maybe a cheap 1-year deal. I think it makes some sense. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Coming up next, I still want to talk about wide receiver, tight end, and running back. We talked about defense in the first half of the video. Giants still need to get better on the offensive end. I got a receiver and tight end that I want to see them target. But first, I got to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app and get the best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed. Game Time is the #1 ticketing app in the game. What I love about them is they kind of appeal themselves to people that are procrastinators like I am. Prices drop as the events get closer. And as the events get closer, they'll send you notifications when they have their flash deals going on, a.k.a. this is the time and you're going to save the most money if you go buy a ticket right now. And where are my baseball fans at? The Yankees started off 1-0, probably going to go 162-0 this year. Maybe no guarantees there. Maybe you want to see the Yankees. Maybe you want to see the Mets. Or maybe you just want to go to a concert or a theater event or a comedy show, something like that. Game Time is the best spot to get tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. And I love that you get to see a view of the stage, the concert venue, or whatever it is from the ticket in the app before buying them. Check them out and use the promo code ChatSports and save yourself $20 off. At the receiver position, the Giants need to get better, no doubt about it. And I do think they will address it, whether it's with pick 6 or in the second round. Another receiver is needed. And a guy like Michael Gallup would give you a really nice yin and yang to what you already have on this team. You have a small slot receiver in Wan'Dale Robinson. You have Jalen Hyatt, who wants to line up on the outside and take the top off the defense. You don't really have that 6'1", 200-pound receiver that lines up outside the numbers and puts pressure on the boundary of the defense. Had some injury history, but he's a former NFC East guy, and we see those guys all the time stay in the division. DJ Chark is another player that I'm going to keep my eye on. Giants were interested in him last offseason. He ended up signing with the Detroit Lions, I believe? Carolina Panthers. It was the Detroit Lions. Actually, you know what? I'm not even sure. It was the Lions or the Panthers. But DJ Chark didn't really have that much success last year. He's someone that can definitely push vertically at 6'4", really fast as well. He's someone last year. I got to check this. out now. Yes, Carolina Panthers. I knew that, March. He was on the Lions, now the Panthers. But he's a free agent, and Giants come out and sign him if they want to. Showed interest last year. Maybe they'll circle the block and see if he still wants to play for this football team. I guess I have to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. if I'm going to talk about free agent wide receivers, but I really don't have any interest in bringing him here, and I don't think he has any interest in coming here. It was a cool story last year when he could have played with Shep and Barkley. They are both gone. The Giants have turned the page. It's a new leaf in New York. I'm not really interested in Odell. I want to see him go play for a team like the Chiefs and maybe go add another ring to his legacy. Two-time Super Bowl champion. Be pretty cool for Odell Beckham. Michael Thomas Jr., if you want to buy a lottery ticket, what about him? Maybe at one point was the best receiver in the league. Not that guy anymore. Injuries have derailed his career, but he's 6'3" and he's 212 pounds. He gives you something that the Giants just simply do not have right now. I wanted to talk about Jarvis Landry. And you might be like, Marshall, why the hell are we talking about Jarvis Landry? He didn't even play football in 2023. If you go back to the NFL Combine, when Joe Schoen sat down with Chris Sims and they did a podcast, he talked about receivers that he has loved in his previous stops. He was once a part of the Miami Dolphins front office when Jarvis Landry was there. And he talked about how good of a leader he was, how hard he practiced, and how much of a positive impact he brought to the locker room. And look, I know he's not great anymore, but I still think there is some juice left in the tank. And he went to Twitter just a couple of days ago talking about there ain't 64 receivers in this world that are better than me. And while I don't know if I agree with that, I still think he is a solid player, and I think he would help a Giants wide receiver room that's not all that loaded. And maybe you just bring him in for culture in the offseason and maybe to compete to make this roster. Because I want to see Hyatt and Robinson and Slayton be the three guys, if you don't add another one, that lead the way for development reasons. But I think bringing in a vet that the general manager knows and likes and has a relationship with, works hard, always been a captain wherever he went, I don't think that's the worst idea in the world. Logan Thomas, tight end of the Washington Commanders, is another player I want to see the Giants maybe look at in NFL free agency, especially if Darren Waller retires or you cut him like I think you should. Because if you don't know if you want to play football, that tells me you don't want to play football. You got to be all in. Can't be 1 foot out, 1 foot in, all in or not. Logan Thomas, 6'6", 250 pounds. He's had a lot of success in this league. 55 grabs last year, almost 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. I think you would definitely be a player that the Giants would benefit by signing. And then your tight end 1 and tight end 2 could be Thomas and Bellinger. Whether Waller's back or not, I still think the Giants need to go out and get another pass catcher. If they look to the draft, I'm keeping my eyes on Jatavian Sanders out of the University of Texas. The defensive tackle position is another one I would like to see the Giants look at. And I've always just been a fan favorite of Calais Campbell. I know he's 37 years old, but the guy had 56 tackles for 6.5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. He gives you the points on the scoreboard when you walk off the team bus, walking into the locker room at 6'8", 307 pounds. The dude is built like a brick shithouse. And I think he would help guys on this team, like Jordan Riley or DJ Davidson or somebody like that. Giants need help there. I love Dexter Lawrence. I think he's the best in the business. But after that, you're relatively thin. I think bringing in a guy, a vet, sometimes could help a young team, which the Giants are one of the youngest teams in the NFL right now. Let's finish it off at the running back position. The number one guy left, in my opinion, is J.K. Dobbins. Thing is, he's had injuries. And there's a reason that these guys on April, what's today's day? April 20, March 29th. Not even April. March 29th. I'm all over the place. You're a free agent. It's either because you're hurt or your best days are behind you. And for Dobbins, he's young, but he has been hurt a lot. Has played in just 9 games since the 2020 season, but he has one of the best yards per carry in the NFL. He is an explosive back when healthy. That's a big win. That's a big if. But I think that he could be acquired on a cheap 1-year deal, and he and Devin Singletary could be a nice 1-2 punch if Dobbins is able to stay healthy. Maybe you look at a veteran like Ezekiel Elliott. How funny would that be? Zeke goes to the Giants, Saquon goes to the Eagles, and the Cowboys are stuck with Rico Dow. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Zeke, short yardage back, but I think I would like to bring him in for his third down pass blocking and goal line and short yardage, his spots on the field. I think he could still pick up those tough yards, and I don't think there's many people that still want to see Ezekiel Elliott coming at them full speed inside the box. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the other running back that I think the Giants should at least call if they are interested in signing another one. Still just 24 years old. Didn't have the most success with the Kansas City Chiefs, but he does have some talent. good in the pass game as well. Would not mind at all him being a Giant. Because outside of Singletary and Eric Gray, who really is a question mark at this point, I don't have much confidence in this running back room. Gary Brightwell, I think, is on the bubble to make this roster. Jashaun Corbin, I'm a fan favorite of him. We talked about him when he was an undrafted free agent in 2022 out of Florida State. Good player, but he didn't make the roster last year. The Giants still need to add to this running back depth chart. I would like to see it be Dobbins, take a home run swing there on a cheap one-year deal with low guaranteed money. What is your thoughts, though, on this? What is the Giants' biggest need in free agency left? Is it receiver? Is it corner? Is it D-line? Is it running back? Is it tight end? Free agency. I think this is different than the draft. Let me know. Biggest need left in free agency to address. Make sure you are following me on social media. Appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't hit the thumbs up icon, do it for me. Give me a follow over here, and let's continue the conversation about the New York Giants.